So, is anyone really surprised when this study or another finds that 105% of young people struggle with procrastination?
No ma'am.
After all, distractions and cheap gratification, as it's come to be known, are literally all around us, be it the hottest chicks you can imagine a simple click away, or indulgent, decadent food a simple click away, or endless streams of novel content, you guessed it, a simple click away. And I don't know about you guys, but if you're anything like me, then the second life hits me with the most minorest of inconveniences, I'm gone.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
And this, of course, is, bad. If there's one thing life really likes doing, is shoving inconveniences down our throat. So, a little bit about me. I'm a Cambridge researcher and author, and over the past 7 years, I wrote a bunch of peer-reviewed articles, I received many teaching awards, and I also wrote a whole ass book in the last year. And listen, I'm here to tell you that learning to resist cheap distractions is one of the most important skills I've developed that allowed me to do all the things I've done. I knew you were trouble when you walked in. Okay. Now, my biggest issue with the advice that exists out there on dealing with procrastination isn't really the advice itself. Stuff like time blocking or accountability partners. Now that's all perfectly fine and can be super helpful to an extent. My actual problem with this sort of advice is that it addresses the symptoms rather than the root cause. In my experience, whenever I would struggle with, say, writing, stuff like this would definitely help for a little while, but then those pesky diminishing returns would start kicking in.
Oh God!
And I would just... Instead, the first step towards actually fixing this problem is asking what might be some very, very uncomfortable questions.
She's huge, but she's so beautiful. She's a mammoth, of course.
Stuff like, why do we find whatever it is we're working on stressful? Where does our low self-esteem come from? Why are we unable to derive pleasure from delayed gratification as opposed to instant gratification? You see, as the absolutely awe-inspiring animation I made for the beginning of this video pointed out, procrastination and temptations become, well, tempting after a negative trigger. Yes, I'm always tempted to open up my phone and browse Reddit, but boy does that pull become a whole lot more difficult to resist after a paper of mine gets rejected at a journal.
Rejected.
Alright, so I know that addressing the root cause of a problem sounds all fine and dandy, of course that's what we should do. However, I can already feel some of you justifiably rolling your eyes at me.
What the hell we gonna do now?
Because suppose you did go on your enlightenment journey. Suppose you did align all of the chakras you could align, but then arrived at no real obvious answer. Or, discovered that you are deeply traumatized by some childhood experiences or some shit like that. Cool. The problem is, you can't just go to your brain and be like,
trauma.
Out of my face! Girls out the room!
especially not in the short run. This type of stuff takes a very long time to heal. It takes a very long process to actually address. But you need solutions right now, damn it! So what can you do in this case? How are you going to resist that sweet, sweet notification that pops up on your phone? Personally, what I found is that the best solution is perhaps the simplest. What you want to do essentially is to impose a very concrete price on giving in to temptation. And this, you know, can take many forms. It can range from setting passwords on the apps you find most problematic, or hiding away your phone in Mordor's butt crack. It doesn't really matter. What you want to do is to impose a cost on actually giving in to temptation. Then I allow myself to actually do the deed and give in to procrastination, as long as I donate $5 to a charity of my choice. And this whole situation really is a win-win, because most of the time I'll just be like, but if I do give in and give the money away, that's money that goes to charity. No one's going to hell for that.
Big boobs. What?
Before concluding, guys, have a look. Have you ever seen something more beautiful, something more magnificent in your life? Anyway, as Jesus once said, the greatest sin of all is perhaps not plugging your book when you have an opportunity to do so. So indeed, I wrote a book. Details are of course in the description, but one of the main themes that I explore in this book is that of shame, and how this fucker right here can absolutely tank our productivity if we're not careful. The gist of it is this: when it comes to distractions and shame, a sort of vicious cycle exists. First, we give into a distraction and procrastinate because we feel bad for one reason or another and have a deep need to fill the void inside us.
I was rooting for you! We were all rooting for you! How dare you!
Then, once we're done procrastinating, we feel ashamed for not having been strong enough to resist the pull of the distraction.
No, no, no! No, no, no!
Which, lo and behold, worsens that inner void that pushed us towards procrastination in the first place.
That's the fucking Gucci Gang shit, and that's the fucking period shit. You know the fucking vibes.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, it's an absolute mess. And you can see how this is all coming together in an absolutely marvelous way. Because with tip number 3, you worked on reducing that void that pushed you towards procrastination in the first place.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Right. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
With tip number 2, we make giving in to temptation harder when the pull inevitably does arrive. Oh god, fuck. And finally, with tip number 1, we're addressing the last link. By tackling shame, we prevent the void from expanding, thus weakening the force that is pulling us towards procrastination in the first place.
No, no, no!
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me. At the end of the day, we're only human, you and I. So sometimes, despite our resolve, despite watching masterpiece videos such as this, we will procrastinate. We will, you know.
It's all coming together.
At times like this, it's important to accept it, to learn something from it, of course, and then move on without beating ourselves over it.
You want to know what? No, I am going to leave.
You know we're still filming, right?